So when we talk about quadratic functions, we're really talking about two different things. The main thing that we're talking about is a parabola. A parabola is a U-shaped graph. So that's something that looks like this, or it's something that looks like this, right? Either orientation is fine. And that happens when an equation has x squared in it. Anywhere in there, if you see x squared, it's going to be a parabola when you graph it. Functions that have x squared in them are called quadratic. So the equation is quadratic, the function is quadratic, but a parabola is the shape that you get when you graph it. Parabolas have some main features, and I'm going to color code mine. The vertex, the main bit, is the top or the bottom of a graph of the parabola. So on this first parabola that's going up and down, oh, my apologies. My first parabola, this one right here, here is going to be a vertex at the bottom. On the second parabola next to it, this is going to be the vertex, it's going to be the top. So these guys have some special names. If it's at the top, we call it a maximum. So this vertex right here, he's going to be a maximum. And if it's at the bottom of a graph, we call it a minimum. So this guy right here is going to be a minimum because it's at the bottom. The axis of symmetry is the x value line running through the vertex. So in this case, it's right here. In this case, it's right here. We always write these as x equals a number. So that might be x equals 5 if the x value of the vertex is 5, or whatever it actually may be. The y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. And I usually draw in that the y-axis is the up and down one. So on this first parabola, here is my y-intercept. On the second parabola, here is my y-intercept. It's just the place that it crosses. The x-intercept is where it crosses the x-axis. And that's the horizontal one. And I will just tell you that you can either have 0 x-intercepts, you can have 1 x-intercept, or you can have 2 x-intercepts. This first parabola right here, this guy, has 2 x-intercepts. It has one here and one here. It crosses the x-axis twice. This next one, this guy right here, has no x-intercepts. It comes up and it comes close to touching the x-axis, but then goes back down and never hits the x-axis. So he has 2 x-intercepts, and this guy has no x-intercepts. All right, x-intercepts. This one is really confusing, but sometimes you will see these guys being called roots. So as in find the roots of an equation, just says find the x-intercepts. Sometimes you'll see them called solutions. So it might say find the solutions, and that just means find the x-intercepts. Or sometimes you will see them called zeros. And that also just means find the x-intercepts. Any of those words, they all mean the same thing. So let's put that into action. Now, here's the deal. Most of the time on the air test, the questions don't give you the graph. They just say, here's an equation, where's the vertex? Luckily, Desmos to the rescue. Desmos graphs anything you want. Type it in, it will graph it for you. And my reminder, to type in something like x squared, we're going to use shift and then 6, because what we want is this little up arrow to say we need to go up to write that too. All right, so these are all really Desmos questions. Find the vertex, the axis of symmetry, the y-intercept, and the x-intercepts, if there are any, for each of the following. So I'm just going to pull up Desmos. If I come down here, pull up Desmos. Now I've already got all 3 of these typed in, just the way that they are. And I'm just going to move these so that I can see both of them at the same time. So let me turn this first one on. Y equals negative 5x squared plus 10x minus 17. So it is this red graph off to the side over here. The vertex is the very top or the very bottom. And if I come over here, Sometimes you have to zoom in just a tad to be able to really see it well. The very top, the maximum of this graph, is at 1, -12. And it's written as a coordinate point because the vertex is a coordinate point. The axis of symmetry is the x value of the vertex. And to say that it's the axis of symmetry, we say x equals, and then I just take the x value, or the first number of the vertex. So in this case, x equals 1. The y-intercept is where the graph crosses the y-axis, which is the vertical axis. So that's here. So my y-intercept is going to be at 0, -17. My x-intercepts are where it crosses the x-axis. Now, this one, I'll move it a little bit. The x-axis is this bold line right here. This graph never crosses the x-axis, so it has no x-intercepts at all. It will never hit the x-axis, much less once or twice. So just none. That is a perfectly allowable answer. If I go to the second one, so I will turn this one off and turn the second one on, y equals 4.2x plus 9.8x squared minus 14. I get a graph that looks just a little bit different. This U shape is going upwards. The same idea. I'm going to zoom in a little bit because you'll see that these two dots are really close together, and I want to make sure that I find the vertex. Now the vertex in this case is a scary number. That's fine. It's -0.2143, comma, -14.45. I am clearly just going to go into that next guy for a second. The axis of symmetry is always x equals, and then it's just whatever the x value is. So in this case, it's that scary number, 0.2143, negative. Yeah. The y-intercept is the place where it crosses the y-axis, so 0, -14. The x-intercepts, if there are any, are the places where it crosses the x-axis. So in this case, it actually crosses twice. It crosses at -1.4290, and let's see if we can extend the page here. And it also crosses at 1, 0. It does not matter which one of these go first, just as long as they both get in there. So for this third one, I'm actually going to do it way down here so that you can actually see the whole thing, is this one. So vertex is going to be the bottom, -7, -4. The axis of symmetry is x equals, in this case, -7. The y-intercept is way up here where it crosses the x-axis, 0.45. And the x-intercepts, there are 2. It crosses the x-axis twice, -5. All right, excuse me for that. The x-intercepts are at -9, and at -50. And again, order doesn't matter. Just as long as you get both of those in, they are the x-intercepts.